What's up, you guys? I am doing a Rocket Dragon Maid deck profile. We're going to get right into it. This is for the ban list that just happened on September 30th, 2022. The reason I'm mentioning that is because the deck took some hits, and I'm kind of filling in the gaps with Dragon Maids. And yeah, I like the deck, and it's been a lot of fun. And I have a couple of replays showing what it can do after this. And I actually ranked up from Platinum to Diamond with it, so it was pretty cool. First we have Anesthesia Rocket Dragon. When a Link monster's effect is activated that targets this face-up card on the field, you can destroy this card, make one face-up monster on the field unable to attack, and negate its effects. Now the second effect of this card, all the rockets, well not all of them, but most of the rockets have this, so I'm just going to say it once. So Anesthesia Rocket, Magna Rocket, Metal Rocket, and Silver Rocket all have that effect. Rocket Tracer and Rocket Caliber do not have this effect. And the effect is that during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was destroyed on the field by battle or card effect and set there this turn, you can special summon one rocket monster from your deck, except the rocket of the same name. So if you use Anesthesia Rocket, you can't get Anesthesia Rocket. If you use Magna Rocket, you can't get Magna Rocket. If you use Metal Rocket, you can't get Metal Rocket. If you use Silver Rocket, you can't get Silver Rocket, so forth and so forth. Oops. Next we have two Maxi. And then we have one Nurse Dragon Maid. So you're only going to be using the first effect of these small Dragon Maids because we're not running the large Dragon Maids just because we don't really have room. So only concern yourself with the first effect of the small Dragon Maids. And Nurse's first effect is when it's normal or special summoned, you can target one level 4 or lower Dragon Maid monster in your graveyard except Nurse Dragon Maid, special summon it. And that's good to just recur and get another Dragon Maid effect when you have that in the graveyard. And the fact that even if you've already normal summoned, if you have Red Eyes Darkness Metal in hand, you can use Red Eyes Darkness Metal, special summon Nurse, and then get the Nurse effect to special summon back another one from the graveyard, and then do more Link shenanigans. And then next we have Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs. We have 2 copies. I felt running 3 was bricky, and we really need to be able to see our monsters if we're going first, because this is mainly a Monster Mash deck. So next we have 2 Kitchen. Kitchen Dragon Maid, when it's normal or special summoned, you can add a Dragon Maid monster from your deck to your hand except Kitchen, then send one Dragon Maid monster from your hand to your graveyard. So sometimes I'll use Kitchen effect and add Chamber and send another Kitchen, or send a Nurse, or send a Parlor, because really at the end of the day I'm trying to get to Chamber first and foremost so I can add the Dragon Maid Changeover, and we'll get into that in a second. Next we have Parlor Dragon Maid. When it's normal or special summoned, you can send a Dragon Maid card from your deck to your graveyard except Parlor. So most of the time that's going to be Changeover. Sometimes that'll be Tidying, and we'll get into that in a bit. And we're running 2 copies of Parlor because it's consistent. Next we have Magna Rocket Dragon. When a Link monster's effect is activated that targets this face-up card in the field, you can destroy it. Send one monster on the field to the graveyard. It does not target, it does not destroy, it just sends. And then also has that Rocket Graveyard effect. So this is pretty good. I like doing this to stuff that can't be targeted or destroyed. And you just say, oh, it can't be targeted or destroyed? Well, I can send it. So this is a very, very fun out and a very good effect. And the fact that you can access all these effects fairly easily because of your spell and trap card support just makes it easy to run like just 1 or 2 copies instead of a bunch of copies. Next we have Metal Rocket Dragon. So this has that same when a Link monster's effect is activated that targets this card in the field, you have the quick effect to destroy this card, and then you can destroy all cards in the column this card was in, all your opponent's cards in the column this card was in. So if you have back row set, it won't get rid of your back row, but it will get rid of your opponent's back row and their monster if they have one. So free spell or trap destruction that can also be free monster destruction. So pretty decent card. Next we have 2 Silver Rokket Dragon, and this card has been awesome against the branded matchup. So this also has the when a Link monster effect targets this card in the field, you can destroy this card. But this one lets you look at your opponent's extra deck and banish 1 card from it. And it also has the good graveyard effect. But yeah, being able to just say, oh, you have Mirror Jade, I don't like that, and get rid of it, that's a fantastic effect. Next we have Rocket Tracer. So Rocket Tracer, this one does not have that when it's targeted effect, but it does have a quick effect of you can target 1 face-up card you control, just any face-up card you control. It could be a field spell even. Destroy it, and if you do, special summon 1 rocket monster from your deck except Rocket Tracer. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except dark monsters. And you can only use this effect of Rocket Tracer once per turn. So that you can only special summon for the rest of this turn dark monsters. That really only affects you like bringing out the big dragon maids. So just keep that in mind that you want to bring out the big dragon maids before you play Rocket Tracer's special summon effect. Next we have 3 Chamber Dragon Maid. This is probably the most important Dragon Maid in the deck, at least in the main deck. When it's normal or special summon, you can add a Dragon Maid spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Dragon Maid Tidying is a great card, we'll get to in a bit. Hospitality is okay. Welcome, you can take it or leave it. You can cut this card if you want to. But the one we're probably going to add most of the time, 90% of the time, is Dragon Maid Changeover, and we'll get into that in a bit. And next we have our final main deck Rocket, which is Rocket Caliber. You can special summon this card from your hand to a zone a Dark Link monster points to. You can only special summon Rocket Caliber once per turn this way. You contribute this card, special summon 1 Dark Dragon or Machine monster from your hand, except Rocket Caliber. You can only use this effect Rocket Caliber once per turn. So some people have been cutting the 1 Silver Rokket and running double Rocket Caliber. You can do that and it is viable. I just like the Silver Rockets because of the branded matchup, and I like being able to cookie cut my opponent's extra deck if I'm in trouble. And next we have Absu Router Dragon. If you control a rocket monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Absu Router Dragon once per turn this way. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 rocket monster from your deck to your hand. That includes if you link with it. You can only use this effect to Absu Router Dragon once per turn. Most people run 3 of this card. I'm running 2 because breaking 2 of them opening hand was not too good. Next we have 2 copies of Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. So the reason we're running 2 is just so we actually see it. So you can special summon this card from your hand by banishing 1 face of dragon monster you control. You can only special summon Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon once per turn this way. During your main phase, you can special summon 1 dragon monster from your hand or graveyard, except Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. You can only use the effect of Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon once per turn. This card is incredible. Being able to bring out Darkness Metal, and then let's just say the first thing you do is summon Kitchen. Do the Kitchen effect, discard Nurse. Then you can banish Kitchen for Darkness Metal, bring back Nurse effect, bring back whatever you discarded or whatever you might want to from your graveyard. Sometimes you can bring back Chamber. And so it's like, okay, this 1 card got me a bunch of effects. So really good option to have. Next we have Dragon Maid Hospitality. Special summon 1 Dragon Maid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. You can then send 1 Dragon Maid with the same attribute but different level. You're not going to use that effect. You're typically just going to use the special summon effect. If you like running more monsters, you can get rid of this card and run Nurse instead. Second Nurse, or you can cut it entirely to have less cards in your deck. Next we have Dragon Maid Changeover. Fusion summon 1 dragon fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. While this card's in your graveyard, you can target a Dragon Maid monster you control, add this card to your hand, and if you do, return that monster to the hand. So you can recycle your buddy Chamber and your Changeover, which is awesome. You can only use this effect of Dragon Maid Changeover once per turn. Next we have Boot Sector Launch, and this is the MVP of the deck. All rocket monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense. You can only activate one of these effects. So special summon up to 2 rocket monsters with different names from your hand in defense position. Or, if you're going second, this is a great effect. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon rocket monsters with different names from your graveyard and defense position up to the difference. So you can only use this effect to boot sector launch once per turn. This card's a good extender, and it's very easily searchable with the extra deck monster. I know some people only run one of this card, and I see why when I brick it. So if you do want to only run one for consistency, like if you want to run 40 cards, you can cut one of the boot sector launches, you can cut the hospitality, and you'll be more in business with kind of a more conservative deck list then. And you really only do need one boot sector launch. I was running 2 in the replays because I was kind of scared of something happening to it, but you really only do need one. Next we have Dragon Maid Welcome. All monsters you control gain 100 attack and defense for every Dragon Maid monster you control. If you control 2 or more Dragon Maid monsters, you can target one Dragon Maid card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. You can only use this effect of Dragon Maid Welcome once per turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard, your opponent cannot target Dragon Maid monsters you control card effects this turn. So the attack boost is nice, but what's even nicer is being able to recur cards. But this is just a good card. And then next we have 3 Quick Launch. This card is not once per turn, making it awesome. You can special summon 1 rocket monster from your deck, but it cannot attack and destroy it during the end phase. This card is awesome. Just drawing this is basically like drawing another rocket from your deck, and it is great Ash Blossom bait. Like, this card is MVP. Next we have 2 Called by the Grave, because you're running mainly monsters and you're relying on mainly monsters, and if your monster effects are negated by hand traps like Ash or Effect Failure, that is bad. So you need the 2 Called by. Next we have 2 Infinite Imperme. I mainly run this just to kind of hinder Flunder a bit, but it's also helped against things like Sword Soul. Next we're running 3 Dragon Maid Tidying. This card is awesome. You can target 1 dragon monster you control. Keep in mind it says dragon monster, not dragon maid, so you can target these awesome dragon link, or not dragon link, but dragon rocket monsters. So target 1 dragon monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls, or that's in their graveyard. Return them to the hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard and special summon a dragon maid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense, but return it to the hand during the end phase. You can only use 1 Dragon Maid Tidying effect per turn, only once this turn. Keep in mind it says 1 Dragon Maid monster, there's no level restriction, so you can do the fusions. This is also a very easy effect to use because you can banish it the turn it was sent to the graveyard, so you can basically just go Parlor, Send, Tidying, Banish, Special. So that card is very good. Next we have 2 Ice Dragon Prison. This card has been hilariously good against certain decks. Like, you'll see, I think you'll actually see in the replays. Like, this has been really funny. Like, Branded is doing something to try like bring back their Mirror Jade from the grave. It's like, no, it's my Mirror Jade now. I special summon it, I activate the effect, and I vanish, or I banish something else, and then I activate the Mirror Jade effect. Like, this is hilarious. You won't get the Mirror Jade effect because its effect's negated, but sometimes I'll activate it anyway because my opponent doesn't read cards, and my opponent will negate the already negated Mirror Jade effect. So, pretty funny. And then finally we have Dragon Maid Downtime. You can target 1 Dragon Maid monster you control, and you can activate one of these effects. You can return it to your hand, add 1 Dragon Maid card from your deck to your hand except Downtime, or return it to the hand, and if you do, return 1 spell or trap card your opponent controls to the hand. So it helps clear back row, and it lets you search. I'm only running 1. It's a decent continuous effect card. The only time that it sucks is when you open it and you don't really have a use case for it. So finally, we get to the extra deck. 2 House Dragon Maid. This is 1 Dragon Maid monster plus 1 dragon monster, so your rockets work for it as well. Once per turn during the standby phase, you can target another Dragon Maid monster you control. Special summon 1 Dragon Maid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position whose level is 1 higher or 1 lower. So that would mainly be for Shio. And then when another face-up dragon monster you control returns to the hand, except during the damage step, you can target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Pretty decent effect. The other Dragon Maid is one level 5 or higher dragon monster and one Dragon Maid monster. So most of the time when you're making this one, you're going to be using Absu Router or Red Eyes Darkness Metal for the fusion material for it, which isn't the best options, but when it happens, it happens. During each standby phase, you can special summon one level 9 or lower dragon monster from your hand or graveyard. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And after that, return this card to the extra deck, and then special summon one House Dragon Maid from your extra deck. You can only use each effect of Dragon Maid Shio once per turn. So being able to bring out House is also a good effect. These two are just pretty decent together, running 2 of each. Next we have the one Guard Dragon Pisty. You cannot special summon monsters except dragon monsters. During your main phase, you can target one of your dragon monsters that is banished, like one that you would banish with Red Eyes Darkness Metal effect, hint hint. And special summon it to a zone that 2 or more of your link monsters point to. You can only use the effect of Guard Dragon Pisty once per turn. You can only special summon Guard Dragon Pisty once per turn. So this card's great, and the fact that it's one level 4 lower dragon means that most of our dragon monsters can make it, even the Dragon Maids. Next we have Striker Dragon, which is also a 1 level 4 lower dragon monster. So when it's link summoned, you can add a Boot Sector launch from your deck to your hand. You can target one face-up monster you control and one rocket monster in your graveyard, destroy the monster on the field, and then if you do, add the other monster from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect of Striker Dragon once per turn. I like destroying the Silver Rocket, banishing from my opponent's extra deck, and then adding another rocket back to my hand. Pretty good effect. Next we have the one Overburst Dragon, which is 2 rocket monsters. You can target one other link monster you control, special summon a rocket monster from your hand to the zone it points to, but the monster special summoned from this effect cannot be used as link material. Also, destroy it during the end phase. You can only use this effect to Overburst Dragon once per turn. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can target one rocket monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So a lot of recurability. You can have a possible extender by special summoning out Tracer and then using Tracer to destroy itself to special summon a different rocket that you can then use for link material. So good effect right there. You can also special summon out something else, use Tracer to target it and destroy it, and then use that effect like the Magna Rocket Dragon effect. Next we have 2 Heraldic Sailed Heavenly Spheres. 2 dragon monsters, once per turn. If this card is in the extra monster zone, you contribute 1 monster from your hand or field. Return 1 face-up card on the field to the hand. So, pretty nice. Being able to bounce and disrupt is pretty nice, and the fact that all it takes is 2 dragons makes it even nicer. If this card is tributed, you can special summon a dragon monster from your hand or deck and make its attack 0. So, being able to just be like, okay, I'm going to tribute this, and bring out Darkness Metal if I so wanted. Just being able to bring out anything you want. Great effect. Absolutely fantastic effect. Or being able to bring out Chamber and get the effect. Fantastic. Next we have Quad Worrell Dragon. 2 dragon monsters, including a rocket monster. You can discard 1 card, target a face-up monster in the field. You cannot special summon link 2 or lower monsters in the extra deck for the rest of the turn. And also, destroy the targeted monster. Then, if it was a link monster, you can special summon any number of rocket monsters with different names from your hand or graveyard up to its link rating. You can only use this effect to Quad Worrell Dragon once per turn. So, if your opponent's playing links and you get to resolve this effect, this is hilarious and wonderful. If your opponent's not playing links, it's kind of meh. Next, we have Worrell Dragon. 2+ effect monsters, give me a link 3. So this card cannot be destroyed by card or effects while it has a link monster that points to it. You can only use each of the following effects of Worrell Dragon once per turn. at the start of the damage step, if this card that was link summoned using 3 monsters as materials battles an opponent's monster, you can destroy all monsters on the field. You can banish this card from your graveyard, banish 1 dark monster with 3,000 or more attack from the field, and if you do, special summon 1 topologic monster from your extra deck or graveyard, and that effect is going to become very relevant soon. 1 Worrell Dragon, can't be destroyed by battle. Once per turn, it's quick effect. You can target an attack position monster your opponent controls, change it to defense. Then this card can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. Once per turn, when this card declares an attack on a face-up monster, you can activate the effect until the end of this turn. This card gains attack equal to half that monster's attack, and if it does, that monster's current attack is halved. That is awesome. And then next we have 1 topologic 0 Boros. You cannot special summon set monsters to any extra monster zone. This card. You cannot special summon or set monsters. Sorry, you cannot summon or set monsters, period, at all. Screwed that up. Hit any extra monster zone this card points to. Gains 200 attack for each banished card. If another monster is special summoned to a zone a link monster points to. So it can be like, you can just use the Pisty effect, basically. Just go nuts. But you're going to have to make sure that when you bring this dude out, you're going to be bringing him out like the Rite of Pisty or something. So you can summon monsters, basically. But anyway, if a link monster is special summoned, if another monster is special summoned to a zone that any link monster points to, so any of your other link monsters, it can even be Striker Dragon. While this monster is on the field, you can banish all cards on the field. Once per turn during the standby phase, the next turn after this card was banished by its own effect, special summon this banished card. Topologic is awesome. And then next we have the boss monster for the deck, Worrell Dragon. Can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. Neither player can target it with monster effects. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. And then quick effect, you can target 1 effect monster in the field, 1 rocket monster in the graveyard, negate the effects of the monster on the field, and if you do, special summon the other monster from your graveyard. So negate 1 of your opponent's card effects and special summon, pretty good. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation, but you can only use this effect of Worrell Dragon once per turn. I love quick effect targeting, like something like one of the small sword soul guys, stopping the effect and then also getting to add a card and my opponent can't respond to it. Great effect. But that's it for the main deck and the extra deck. I hope that you guys enjoyed the deck profile for this, and we are going to scoot on over to my replays real fast. I'm going to show you guys a couple of replays. But yeah, this deck actually got me into Diamond, which was surprising because this is before the September ban list when I recorded these replays. And Adventure really hurt. Same with Hallie Fibrix still being in the format at the time of me filming this. But we're going to play against Sky Striker. We're going to force him to basically only special summon 1 thing. Because we're going to play Max C and they don't want to give us cards. Now we're just going to go right ahead and do the Dragon Maid effect. And they stopped it, but that's okay. We didn't really care too much about it anyway. We got our Link 1. We got our field spell off. And then we got just all the different shenanigans going on. And now my opponent has that Link 1. We're going to bring that rocket right on back, baby. It's like, you guys can't handle the amount of shenanigans that is happening right now. Like, oh, you want to do effects? Here's my effect. Bam. Bring it back. negate that effect, do more damage. I was like, I knew I gotta go for the Borland. My opponent's not gonna be able to outplay it with strikers. Borland just having that cannot be destroyed with battle or card effects, and your opponent can't target with monster effects. They pretty much have to Widow Anchor it. And so I'm just gonna go, oh, you target it with a Link monster effect? I'll use my own effect now. And now I'm like, oh, fudge. And I realize, wait, I can negate that. I can just do the same thing. Just give me that Magna Rokket. Give me that Magna Rokket. We got the access code, and then my opponent realizes that they might have in fact screwed up. Because in getting access code, okay, can't destroy it. It don't matter. And we're even going to get the special summon effect, but at that point my opponent knows it's over. I'm going to negate effects and roll over him next turn. There's nothing they can do to stop the amazingness that just transpired. And next we have another quick replay. Don't want to make this video too long, so I'm only showing 2 replays. And these were fun and just good examples of the deck's mechanics, so that's why I picked these. So they're playing Prank Kids. We're going to duck on pre-ban list Prank Kids. We're going to dunk on them. They are at full power at the making of this video. I want to point that out. It's like, hello, Striker Dragon. It's like, oh, well then. Please. So now we're just going to say, okay. My opponent's going to try to play Roxy's, and I'm like, oh, I'll summon the Roxy's and banish the Roxy's. And that Prank Kids player was like, this isn't happening. And the next turn, I finally get to start doing shenanigans. But, well, if I have the next turn. But that's it for the deck profile. As always, this video is sponsored by W Energy. You can get 10% off by using code SirLargeGaming with the link below. I love the peach mango flavor. It is what gives me just completely high energy to play games, or if I'm really tired around the middle of my workday. But yeah, absolutely recommend the stuff. And I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile, and comment down below if you would like to see more Yu-Gi-Oh content. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.